on Storm from Team Nerd Rage Gaming, playing against Harlan Fear, who is on Miracles.
And our former Vidal Sassoon model, Harlan Fear, has recently donated his hair.
Yeah,
The
so
good guy that he is. He's sharing those locks with someone else.
So he's shaved it down. It looks like Caleb is going to keep his 6. Mulligan going to keep his 6. Tanking on the scry a little bit.
Sounds like it was a gentleman's mulligan where each player agreed to mulligan an equal amount.
Yep, Caleb kept his scry on top. Harlan's going to ship it to the bottom. Let's see. Caleb's just going to play Misty Rainforest and pass the turn. Harlan finds a Force of Will. He's just going to play an island and a Divining Top.
All right, Miracles player 1.
Yeah.
That's if there's anything we can learn from today is if they have Sensei's Divining Top, they'll win.
All right, so we have a Probe. It's going to reveal Force of Will, Divining Top, Plain, Scalding Tarn, Engineered Explosives.
And so Caleb is likely going to be looking to combo off on the first couple turns of the game. If he doesn't win by turn 3, things are going to start to get difficult for him. He sees that his opponent has a Force of Will, but doesn't have a blue card to go with it.
Yeah, and it looks like he might just win this turn. So he has a couple Dark Rituals, a Lion's Eye Diamond, a Lotus Petal, and an Infernal Tutor.
Yeah,
so
and this
he actually can just go off this turn.
Yeah, this is what the Storm deck is designed to do. It really wants to try to win on those first 3 turns of the game. And it looks like we're going to see a turn 2 kill here.
All right, well, Caleb's going to fall to 16 using both of those Misty Rainforests. We're going to get a Dark Ritual. Well, he's going to play a LED first.
Yeah, and his hand
Lotus
is all
Petal.
mana and a tutor, which is perfect.
Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual.
That's 5 black mana.
Infernal Tutor.
And he doesn't even need to crack his Lion's Eye Diamond on the stack to empty his hand. Harlan's going to flip his top to draw cards, see if there's a blue card on top of his library. Sees that it's not. He's going to have to scoop it up.
Well, Caleb Scherer is going to take game 1 here very quickly against Harlan Fear with his Storm deck. He's an invitational champion. Let's take a look at their sideboards and see how we think they're going to change their decks up. So Harlan has 4 copies of Pyroblast, 2 Flusterstorm, 1 Surgical Extraction, 2 Wear Tear, 2 Vendadian Click, 2 Blood Moon, 1 Entreat the Angels, and a basic Mountain. What do you think he's bringing in here?
So the cards that I like are just the typical elements that you expect to bring in against combo. I think he's going to want some number of the Pyroblast, although probably not all 4. Flusterstorm is great against Storm. He's going to want to bring in the Vendilion Clicks. I think that there's some arguments you can make to bring in Wear and Tear and Surgical Extraction, although I don't think that those will actually end up coming in.
Now on Caleb's side, we have 4 Abrupt Decay, 3 Chrome Mox, 2 City of Solitude, 2 Tendrils of Agony, 1 Empty the Warrens, an Echoing Truth, a Bayou, and a Tropical Island. What do you think Caleb's bringing in?
So this is kind of interesting. He actually has a lot of lands in his sideboard. I'm not 100% sure what those are for. I believe what he's going to be bringing in those, some number of the Abrupt Decays, maybe all 4 of them. And he may bring in an extra copy of Tendrils of Agony, maybe an Empty the Warrens to make it so that he has more win conditions, but I think that's probably going to be about it.
Do you think City of Solitude is something he might want?
I don't know, maybe. Do you think so?
Yeah.
I actually don't remember what the card does.
So it's an enchantment, 2 and a green, and players can't play spells on other players' turns.
That sounds like good for this matchup.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see City of Solitude coming from Caleb. Now, Caleb, like I said, is an invitational champion, has his own custom Storm token, but he's not the only player that likes to play Storm. You know who else likes to play Storm?
Tell me.
Ross Merriam.
Lay it on me, Ross Merriam.
And he is going to be on Jeopardy Friday, July 22nd. So we do like to, help promote players not only that travel and do well, not so much travel and do well, but travel and participate in the SCG Tour. But Ross is also an employee of StarCityGames.com doing content. He's one half of the Ross versus Majors versus Series crew, I guess you can call them. But he is going to be on Jeopardy. He's a smart guy. Friday, July 22nd. Do you think he wins a lot of money?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You think he's smart enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Look at that smug look.
It's because he knows he's going to win. He knows he's going to get that money.
He's just counting to 10 with his Storm deck.
My favorite thing about the Magic is the community. We have so many cool people in our community. Just getting to know people, learning about their interesting talents. it's nice, being able to feature someone who has one of these unique talents and kind of sharing it with everyone. Ross is just a great guy.
I've played trivia with him.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. So I'm not surprised that he was able to make it through the qualifying rounds and be able to battle on.
I hope he does well. I'm certainly going to watch.
Well, since we learned a little bit about Ross, let's learn a little more about the players here. So we have Caleb Scherer. He's part of Team Nerd Rage Gaming. He's 27 from St. Louis, Missouri. He has 2 open top 8s. He has 2 invitational top 8s with a win. He's a graduate student in mathematics working on differential geometry. Maybe Caleb should be on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
He lives entirely out of his backpack, which is interesting. And his diet consists entirely of peanuts.
I think some of the things on here might be exaggerated, but I do like the math student thing. I always think that it would be a good idea for myself as a player to go back and brush up on my statistical mathematics. I think it would really help my understanding of the game.
So it looks like the players are just about finished here with their shuffling. I believe Harlan is going to be on the play. Let's see if we can get some 7s kept.
We actually have a lot of great math players in our community. We got people like Frank Karsten, Jarvis Yu is also a math student who works in economics. A lot of good math chops in the Magic community.
Well, this game is a lot of math, especially that Storm deck. Harlan's going to lead off with a Scalding Tarn. Going to fall to 19. Let's see if he's finding a Volcanic Island.
So what Harlan wants to do here is, probably just cast a Ponder or something like that, and he has one. He just wants to sculpt his draw. He's got a little bit of air in his deck. He's got to cut through it, hopefully find a counterbalance, start locking Caleb out of his powerful plays. And after he's developed a healthy amount of disruption, then he wants to find a win condition.
Well, Harlan is going to shuffle that and then pass the turn back to Caleb.
One of the hallmarks that's different between a control deck and an aggro deck when they're facing something like a combo deck is an aggro deck usually wants to have its threats come first and then its disruption. And typically with a control deck, they want to have its disruption come first and then its threats.
All right, well, Caleb's going to lead off with a Gataxian Probe. We're going to see a couple of Ponders, a Preordain, a Snapcaster Mage, a Fetch Land, and a copy of Engineered Explosives. He is just going to go ahead and ponder for his turn. Ooh, I did see a City of Solitude there in his hand.
And Abrupt Decay also, I believe.
All right, he'll keep the Ponder and draw a card, pass the turn back to Harlan.
And after having cast the Gataxian Probe, Harlan's got to be pretty worried that Caleb is keeping with his Ponder. Can't bode well for Harlan. Harlan's got to come up with something fairly quickly.
All right, so Harlan's deciding what he wants to do with this Ponder. Looks like he's going to keep it and draw a Force of Will.
So at least he's got one piece of disruption.
Caleb will draw for his turn. We're going to play a Ponder.
And the Storm deck, it does have a few artifacts in the form of Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond. It usually doesn't have that many enchantments, although sometimes you will see a card like Carpet of Flowers. It'll be interesting to see if Harlan decided to bring in his Wear Tears to potentially deal with this City of Solitude.
Well, he does have Engineered Explosives still in the deck. Looks
Yep.
like he has one in his hand. So that gives him some protection against Empty the Warrens and can hit some preemptive zero-cost artifacts like Lion's Eye Diamond and Lotus Petal. But it also can just kill that City of Solitude, too.
Yep.
All right, Caleb is going to go find a Volcanic Island, cast another Ponder.
Little inefficient to kill the City of Solitude, though.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You do. That is true. At least it's an out. It's better to have something rather than nothing.
All right, he's gonna shuffle up, draw off the Ponder, just pass back.
And you can see the pacing of this game is a lot slower. A lot of times you'll see these combo decks in game one, they'll just jam what they have and try to win right away. And that was obviously a little easier for Caleb in game 1 because he had a Cataxian Probe, but that is what you would normally see because a major goal is to just catch your opponent by surprise game 1. And then game 2 and 3, when they have access to their sideboard cards, things slow down a little bit more and you have to play around a lot more things because there's a greater chance that your opponent has those things after boarding them in.
Harlan's just going to preordain and put them both on the bottom, draw a card, and pass back to Caleb. Caleb's going to use his Pluto Delta fall down to 16 here.
Look at that mana base.
And we might see
Beautiful.
a City of Solitude.
He just needs a Tundra, and then he'll have all 5 colors.
All right, here's the City of Solitude.
There it is.
Caleb.
What a unique card.
Each player may play
Wow,
spells
some
and abilities only during his or her turn. So you're not even able to utilize like Sensei's Divining Top or something on your opponent's turn.
I should know this one. This one's from my heyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the baby boss days when he started playing Magic.
Yep, back when Reed Duke didn't quite know how to read and I could still beat him at Magic.
Harlan's going to brainstorm in response to the City of Solitude.
I mean, if he doesn't Force of Will this, what are those Force of Wills doing? So,
right. He's going to put 2 cards back.
This is still sort of a win-win situation for Caleb, though. He would like this City of Solitude to resolve, but if it's baiting out a Force of Will, that's also not so bad.
Yep, there are only so many in the deck.
Right.
So Harlan is going to fall to 18, going to use a Force of Will on City of Solitude, pass the turn back. Harlan's going to fetch with his Flooded Strand on Caleb's end step, falling down to 17.
And Harlan still really wants to find a counterbalance, or at least a Monastery Mentor. He would prefer to have the counterbalance, but he just needs to get some sort of permanent on the board to apply some sort of pressure to Caleb.
Harlan's going to find a Volcanic Island, take his turn. Let's draw for the turn. Oh, looks like he does have a counterbalance. There we go. Counterbalance and pass. Now Caleb
no
has to
Sensei's
battle
Divining
through a
Top, though,
counterbalance.
so Caleb can fight through this.
And he just drew an Abrupt Decay. All right, just going to play an island, pass the turn back to Harlan. Harlan has another counterbalance.
Wow. Well, that'll make it that Abrupt Decay not quite as good.
Oh, Abrupt Decay is going to get rid of one of them. He just drew another Abrupt Decay, did it look like?
He didn't sideboard them in not to draw them.
Right?
That's the way it works.
Looks like Harlan does have a Monastery Mentor. Let's see if he decides to just try and deploy it and end this game. He's going to brainstorm first.
The one problem with deploying the Monastery Mentor, it would leave him tapped out, and having access to Brainstorm with the counterbalance in play is quite valuable. So I would expect him to look for a 3rd land drop and then cast his Monastery Mentor while being able to hold up a Brainstorm. He does have to worry about losing this game out of nowhere. So he is kind of walking on eggshells and needs to play around things appropriately.
Well, looks like he's going to put 2 Mentors back. He's going to play an Explosives for 0 and pass. He does have a Divining Top in hand. Caleb did find another Abrupt Decay. This might be the turn he goes for it. He's going to start off with the Probe, falling to 14. Looks like we have a Brainstorm, a Snapcaster Mage, a Force of Will, and a Sensei's Divining Top.
It's a pretty good hand. It's a little interesting that Harlan chose not to play the Sensei's Divining Top there, since he would still have mana available for Brainstorm, but looks like he prioritized holding mana open to activate that Engineered Explosives.
And Caleb just drew a Lion's Eye Diamond as his draw for the turn. Just going to pass the turn back. He does have a 3rd Abrupt Decay in his hand. Harlan will draw a Monastery Mentor. Going to cast a Divining Top and pass. Caleb's going to draw, looks like, ooh, it's an Empty the Warrens.
And we see here Harlan is choosing to use his mana in a way that is more disruptive rather than proactive. He could have played the Monastery Mentor there, but I like that he chose not to and is instead trying to sculpt his draw to find more disruption and build his mana up more first.
So here Harlan's going to take his time to decide if now is the turn to try and go for it.
One thing that's a little tricky is with that engineered explosives in play, if Harlan plays the line side diamond, Harlan will be able to potentially destroy it with engineered explosives before Caleb really gets to use the cards in his hand.
Yeah, he just has to make sure that he plays the lion's eye diamond. It's the last card before he cracks it. And there's the Cabal Therapy. He could have just been waiting for a permission spell to go after that Force of Will.
Yep.
All right, we're going to see some fireworks here, or not. Caleb is going to change his mind.
And I believe he's got Empty the Warrens here too, so he doesn't necessarily need to produce a lethal storm count. He can probably just use a few resources to get some threats on the board, Cabal Therapy his opponent's hand away, flash it back, and set himself up to, really run away with the game a few turns later.
So he's going to play the LED and the lion's eye diamond and pass, which prompts Harlan to use his engineered explosives to get rid of it. Now this is going to clear the way for an Empty the Warrens next turn. All right, Harlan's just going to draw for the turn and pass.
And Harlan is being really patient with this. He could try to deploy a Monastery Mentor here and still have a little bit of mana left over to potentially cast a Brainstorm or activate his Sensei's Divining Top. But instead he wants all of that mana to threaten as much as possible against Caleb. And on Caleb's side, he's just worried about all that open mana from a Miracles player. So he's also trying to be very, very careful and patient with his plays.
All right, Caleb's going to Brainstorm, and Harlan's going to counter it with a Pyroblast.
So at least one Pyroblast came in. I would be surprised if Harlan brought all of them, but I certainly expected some number.
Let's see what Caleb decides to do here. He's going to start off with the Dark Ritual.
All right, let's get the show on the road.
Storm count 3.
And I feel like the next thing we're going to see is the Cabal Therapy. Oh, interesting.
But Abrupt Decay the top. All right, Harlan's going to draw a card. Put the top on top.
It's kind of a surprising play. I would defer to Caleb's judgment. He is so good with the Storm deck.
I'm going to get a Cabal Ritual.
He might have just wanted to build his Storm count.
And then just passes the turn.
Interesting. So he traded 2 rituals and an Abrupt Decay for a Force of Will, a blue card, and forcing the Sensei's Divining Top to get put on top of the library.
Oh, and Harlan's able to find another counterbounce to go along with his top here.
Wow, and
This
now
does
Caleb
not
is
look
without
like-
that Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, this does not look very good for Caleb. I'm surprised he didn't Cabal Therapy there to get rid of the Force of Will he knew about from the earlier probe.
Yeah, pretty interesting turn of events.
Or maybe the Force of Will wasn't there when he probed. It was not.
He might have also just thought the coast was clear and was looking to have that Cabal Therapy resolve and then keep going.
All right, well, there is a Brainstorm. Caleb's going to draw 3 cards and put 2 back on top of his deck.
Yeah, he does have a 4th Abrupt Decay. He's managed to draw 3. Can we make it 4? Yeah, this is a sticky situation for Caleb. I would expect Harlan to finally slam this Monastery Mentor down on the following turn, now that the counterbalance top lock has been established.
top lock and clock.
Yeah.
That's what we got there. Top lock and the Snapcaster Mage is the clock.
Yep. So far, he has abided by the predictable play pattern of get your disruption online first and then play a threat. Now I think we're at the stage where he'll finally play a threat.
And here's a Dark Ritual.
Now Caleb's going to try and go for it again.
Storm count is 2.
Ooh, and Harlan has access to a 1 on top. This does mean that Caleb can get some 2-mana spells to resolve.
All right, so we've got a Cabal Ritual. Storm count is 3. All right, Empty the Warrens is going to give him 4 copies, so 8 goblins.
There's a healthy amount of goblins that is lethal over the course, given a little bit of time. So Harlan does have to deal with this, but the Monastery Mentor is going to have at least something to say about that.
All right, well, he's going to draw. He's going to draw with top in his upkeep, draw for his turn, play a Mentor, play a top, get a Monk.
And Caleb still has the, I believe, a Tendrils of Agony in hand. So he may not need to kill Harlan with these Goblin tokens. He may be able to get away with just, getting him low and then finishing him off with that Tendrils of Agony. Harlan would love to see either a Entreat the Angels or another Engineered Explosive to deal with these tokens.
All right. Well, Caleb's going to attack with, looks like 7 goblins. Harlan will block 2, one with a Monk, one with a Monastery Mentor. He's going to take 5 points of damage down to 11, and Caleb's going to go get another copy of Tendrils of Agony.
And Harlan does get to play with complete information from this point, which is quite valuable. And Caleb is showing a lot of respect to that Monastery Mentor by keeping 1 goblin back to block it.
Ooh, we're going to get another Mentor.
And this is going to be 2 tokens, which is a big deal.
Caleb can draw a Cabal Ritual here. He can just win through his, with enough mana and the 2 Tendrils. Oh, there's a Brainstorm.
Yeah, Caleb is most certainly close to victory, but Harlan is very close to victory too. We've seen so many of these games coming to an head where both players are so close to winning. It really shows how evenly matched a lot of these decks are. And this is one of the powerful interactions that you can do with Sensei's Divining Top and Monastery Mentor. And now we have a third one.
Third Mentor, bringing 3 monks along with it.
And now at this point, Harlan Fear has a bigger board than Caleb, despite that big Empty the Warrens.
Wow, and Caleb's going to cast a Brainstorm, and Harlan's going to counter it with Pyroblast and get 3 more tokens and a bunch of Prowess triggers.
Yeah, I believe those Monastery Mentors are each 4/4s, and their tokens are 3/3s.
Well, Caleb's going to block all of the creatures attacking him, trade off with a Snapcaster Mage. And he does not find a Cabal Ritual, so Harlan Fear is going to take game 2 here with his Miracles list.
And the Monastery Mentors paid off. They were that overpowering element. Caleb might have been able to, by going wide with all of those tokens, push a little bit of damage and finish Harlan off with the Tendrils of Agony, but the Monastery Mentors were quite good for Harlan.
Now, do you think that either player is going to change their sideboard plan here?
I don't think so. I think for the most part they're going to be running with essentially the same stuff. There may be a card like City of Solitude is better on the play than the draw, but I think for the most part Caleb is just going to keep that in anyway.
I can see that. I can see that. Now, we talked a little bit about Eldritch Moon cards, but if you want to get your hands on them a little bit early, make sure you head out to one of your local Eldritch Moon pre-releases. And if you're wanting to get this awesome Lily Llama Eldritch Groove playmat, you can let your local game store know that you want them to sign up and participate in the StarCityGames.com pre-release. So they can get that information at go.starcitygames.com/pre-release. This is an exclusive playmat that you can get only through StarCityGames.com for a limited amount of time, July 16th and 17th. Lily Llama Eldritch Groove.
Very, very sweet.
Let's learn a little bit more about Harlan Fear while these players are finishing up shuffling here.
Oh, look at that hair.
Yeah, a little different than what we got now.
Jeez.
He is on Team Next Ridge Games. He's 21 years of age, based out of Charlottesville, Virginia. He has 3 open top 8s with a win. He donates his hair after it reaches a certain length. He's a formal wrestler in high school, and he's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Harlan, I like you, and I'm not going to hold that against you.
I also heard a rumor that he's a former Vidal Sassoon model, so
Yeah?
might see him in some of those advertisements.
Why formal? You don't think he can model hair if he doesn't have any?
I don't think he can model hair if he doesn't have any, no.
They just put wigs on. What if he has a wig made out of his own hair?
A wig made That would be some crazy kind of Inception stuff.
I think that he donates. I'm not sure the exact foundation that he donates it to, but I think that they use that hair to make wigs for cancer survivors.
Oh, that's great.
So that's pretty cool.
Maybe even just some people who want to be more fashionable.
Yeah.
I mean, have hair like Harlan's. I could see a lot of people doing that.
I'm getting close to needing a wig.
I mean, I'm jealous, and I just have normal hair. I wouldn't mind having a Harlan Fear wig, for some big parties where I need to impress people.
All right, well, Caleb is going to be on the play here. For those of you just joining us, Caleb Scherer is on Storm, currently 8th on our Player of the Year leaderboard, playing against Harlan Fear on Miracles, who is 14th. Both players came into this event with 2 buys. They're both 10-3. A win here puts them within striking distance of making the top 8. Caleb's going to keep his opening 7. Let's see if Harlan has an acceptable grip of cards.
And in game 2, I think if Caleb had been a little bit more aggressive, there might have been some moments where he could have been able to take it in the game. But Harlan, by just passing with all of his mana open, representing so much, it really kept Caleb, I think, kind of scared. In this game 3, though, with Caleb on the play, I think we're going to see him probably adopt a slightly more aggressive play style than we saw in game 2, because at that point he was on the draw.
Well, Harlan is going to go ahead and mulligan his hand here. This is pretty interesting. This is a matchup where counterbalance is very, very good from the Miracle side.
Yep.
But we saw it never really entered play early to combat cantrips, and Caleb just always had Abrupt Decay every time Harlan was able to land one on the battlefield.
Yeah, and that was quite fortunate from Caleb. We'll see if that kind of luck holds into this game. That said, we may run into a situation where Harlan just doesn't get a second turn. Caleb could very easily just win on turn 2, or Harlan may cast the counterbalance on turn 2, not have control of the top of his library, and Caleb could just win on turn 3 through the counterbalance. So we'll have to see how things play out.
Harlan is going to keep his 6 and scry to the top. Going to start off with a Flooded Strand, going to crack it for a Volcanic Island.
And if Harlan has Sensei's Divining Top, I think he's a huge favorite to win the match. Oh, and he has it.
Speak of
Jeez.
the devil. So Divining Top is going to come down for Harlan. Caleb is going to probe him and see Force of Will, Force of Will, Force of Will, and treat the Angels and counterbalance.
Doesn't have a land, but it is a pretty nice hand. He's going to be able to use that counterbalance to hopefully find what he needs, and those Force of Wills are certainly going to keep him safe. That said, Cabal Therapy would be pretty nice.
Cabal Therapy would be a beating. It would get rid of 2 Force of Wills is what it would do. He's going to probe again, Storm count 2.
And it looks like Caleb does have an Abrupt Decay, so doesn't have the mana to cast it yet.
All right, well, Caleb is just going to play a Tropical Island and pass the turn. Pass back to Harlan.
And it looks like Caleb actually had access to a land on top of his library, but chose to draw a Ponder instead, simply so that he would have 2 blue cards to pitch to his 2 Force of Wills, not including his counterbalance. So if things do come to a counter war here, Harlan is going to be able to win that, or hopefully win that war without losing his counterbalance.
Well, Caleb's just going to play another island and a lion's eye diamond. Harlan's going to draw his island now for the turn, play counterbalance, and things are looking a little dicey for Caleb.
Ooh, but Harlan is able to untap.
And play another counterbalance.
And this is huge.
Oh, Caleb just has a bunch of tendrils in his hand.
Yeah, and he has Abrupt Decay, but no black mana. And this is one of the things that's tough about a combo deck, is a lot of times you have all of these resources, but they don't actually do anything on their own. You have to have them pair up and work together. This isn't like an elf combo deck where even if you're not doing your thing, you get to just run out your creatures and start bashing your opponent. This Storm deck, it's very much an all or nothing type of deck.
Yep. Harlan does have another copy of Divining Top that he's added to his board. Caleb has a bunch of mana. He has a Misty Rainforest, Volcanic Island, Tropical Island, 2 basic islands, and a Lion's Eye Diamond. At this point, Harlan just needs to draw into some more land and present a clock to try and close this game out.
And Caleb knows all the cards in Harlan's hand other than one. He knows about the 3 Force of Wills, he knows about the Entreat, doesn't know about the extra blue card.
Harlan's going to top on Caleb's end step to draw an Arid Mesa and just pass the turn back. Oh, there's an Ad Nauseam.
That's a good card.
It is an instant, so we might see Caleb just play it on Harlan's end step.
That's always such a nice play pattern to fight through counter magic, is if you can lead with an instant speed spell at the end of your opponent's turn. It just makes it so that you have almost twice as much mana for a moment. And the fact that Caleb is so far ahead on land drops compared to Harlan, that is one advantage that Caleb has in this game that hopefully he can leverage, is that he just has way more mana.
All right, well, Harlan's going to fall to 17 here using another fetch land to get a fresh look at the top 3 cards of his deck with that Divining Top. He does have an Entreat in his hand, so he could just be looking for a Brainstorm type card to put it back on top. Oh, and this last top is going to reveal 2 Engineered Explosives and a Counterspell. He's going to draw the Counterspell for the turn and just pass back.
That said, the 2 Engineered Explosives aren't that great for the purposes of counterbalance. So the top of Harlan's deck actually isn't that great for countering things. That said, he does have all those Force of Wills in his hand that are obviously great at countering things.
And now a Counterspell itself. So
yep.
This Ad Nauseam is likely just to get countered by an actual Counterspell here.
He does have the mana. It is a worthy target.
So he's going to Force of Will, pitching a Force of Will. This does protect his hand a little bit from a Cabal Therapy.
Yep. It also does a good job of simply depleting the amount of information Caleb has about the Harlan's hand.
Oh, well, Caleb's just going to pass the turn. Harlan's going to top on his upkeep, or on Caleb's end step. Ooh, there's the City of Solitude.
It is a nice one. Unlikely to resolve, but a good way to use up one of Harlan's counterspells.
Unfortunately, there is no Monastery Mentor in the top 3.
He's got another look, though.
He is.
Seen time and time again with this Miracles deck. Between Fetch Lands, Brainstorm, Sensei's Divining Top, they're so good at finding what they need. We'll see if he can find a 3-drop to counter this city.
He's got a bunch of Monastery Mentors in his deck. Does not find one, but he does find a Brainstorm. So now he can... Oh, he's just going to Counterspell. Just going to draw the Brainstorm, pass the turn back.
And if Caleb has multiple Tendrils of Agony, we may see him try to kill Harlan in 2 shots. He doesn't need to get the storm count to be that big. He may be able to just cast a spell, cast another spell, have Harlan cast a spell to counter it, and then fire off a Tendrils for half of Harlan's life total.
Well, Caleb is going to start off here with an Infernal Tutor. Harlan's just going to let it resolve. We're going to go get another Abrupt Decay.
Oh, that's a nice play. I like that a lot. And this has got to make Harlan a little worried. So he does have that Entreat the Angels in hand, so if he... And he has access to a Brainstorm, so we may see a situation where he's able to do a big Entreat and at least put Caleb on a fast clock now that he knows he's probably going to lose his counterbalances.
Right, so there is the Brainstorm. He's going to put back a land and an Entreat the Angels. The Entreat's going to be second, so on Caleb's next end step, Harlan's going to try and make a bunch of Angels and close the game out.
Yeah, Harlan's going to... Yeah, Harlan has a few different options here. He could hit his land drop so that he has an extra Angel. He could also try to draw the Pyroblast so that he has an extra counter spell. He's got a few options here.
Well, I think that we want... Yeah.
So he does have that land drop.
So the Abrupt Decay is going to take care of a counterbalance.
Now, if Harlan can survive this turn, there's a pretty good chance he can use this Entreat the Angels to win the game.
Yeah, he'll be able to draw with top, Miracle the Entreat, fetch for a land, make 4 Angels.
Yeah, untap and just kill Caleb.
Caleb does have a couple Abrupt Decays, though, so he can take care of Angels if he needs to.
Well, he's used 1. Does he have 2 more or just 1 more?
Looks like he has 2 more in his hand.
Wow, so he can potentially kill the counterbalance and one of the Angels to not die, untap and maybe combo off to win the game. That would be phenomenal. All these games have been so close, so back and forth. Each player has had advantages at different points.
Ooh, he does not have a second green source, though, to play 2 Abrupt Decays in 1 turn. So there's a chance that he just plays the Abrupt Decay here and then tries to combo.
Because we know about his hand, we know that this is probably his best shot. So we'll see if Caleb decides to go after it now.
Right, Abrupt Decay will take care of the counterbalance.
And Harlan doesn't have a whole lot to work with from here.
Caleb will Brainstorm, and Harlan's just going to Pyroblast the Brainstorm.
Does Caleb have a follow-up?
We've got a Cabal Ritual. This is going to give us 5 black mana.
I think Caleb might have the win here, because even if this gets countered, can he crack the line side diamond and then flashback past in flames? What's that? What's the flashback cost on that? Is it 5?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks
he's
like he might be
one
mana
short.
short. Wow. So close. So close.
All right, well, Harlan is just going to...
So Harlan's not going to be able to entreat for a lethal amount, and Caleb will be able to cast that Past in Flames on his turn. And if Harlan doesn't have some serious disruption, Caleb may still be able to win on his turn. Harlan's putting him on a 2-turn clock, but for the most part, Harlan at this point is out of gas. He doesn't have his counterbalance, doesn't have a hand stock full of Force of Wills like he did before.
Harlan is going to get a bunch of fresh looks here between Ponders and Brainstorms, though.
This is true.
To find a counterbalance or just some type of counterspell.
On Caleb's turn, he may not only be able to cast Past in Flames, he may also be able to flash it back on the same turn.
If he needs to bait a counterspell with the cast.
Yep. So Harlan's got a Brainstorm here, but that's about it. Can you find anything else on the top of his deck?
Just a bunch of preordains and monastery mentors.
A preordained can help clear the top of his library with the scry.
He will lose. Yeah, he can brainstorm into them.
Yeah, I think Harlan knows that this is the do or die situation. These angels have Caleb on a 2-turn clock, so basically this is probably the last turn where Harlan's going to do something that matters. So everything that he can fire off, he might as well.
He just finds a land.
He knows that Caleb is forced in a situation where Caleb has to win on his turn, so Harlan has to treat the situation as such.
All right, well, he'll just play a Scalding Tarn, attack for 8. It's going to put Caleb down to 6. Caleb's going to take his turn.
And if Caleb had a test spell, he'd love to fire it off, but I think he has to just cast Past in Flames and start and hope it resolves. We've seen Joe Lissette do so well with Miracles on Nerd Rage Gaming, and now Caleb, he's one of the other great players from that team, Nerd Rage Gaming, and he is the Storm Master.
So we've got a Past in Flames. Harlan is going to spin his
Harlan
top.
find something? A Pyroblast will not do it. He really needs to somehow get a blue card and a Force of Will into his hand.
All right, well, we're going to fetch. He does have a blue card in hand. He just needs to find a Force of Will. There's only one left in his deck, though. He's gone through 3.
Yeah. The odds are low for our young Vidal Sassoon model.
He does also have 2 Flusterstorm in his sideboard.
Oh, that would be good. Flusterstorm's pure gas.
The problem is he's not going to have any available mana here.
Well, it's tricky. He could just tap the Divining Top to just try to draw off the top of his library. Or he can try to, like, if he's looking for Force of Will or Flusterstorm, he can tap the Sensei's Divining Top to potentially draw one of those 3. Or he can rearrange the top 3 of his cards of his library, paying a mana with Sensei's Divining Top to find a Force of Will and then draw it with the top. So this is putting him to an out of just 1 Force of Will. And there's the...
it was one card.
One card down.
Too deep.
Oh,
he almost
man.
just drew a card with the top.
And
Past
so
in
from
Flames
here on
resolves.
out, it is likely just academic. Caleb Scherer is going to be able to cast all the cards from his graveyard, essentially, building up a monstrous storm count. Harlan Fear hasn't seen the cards in Caleb's hand, but knows that the writing is likely on the wall, but he's going to make Caleb do it.
So we're going to get a Cabal Ritual. Storm count 2.
What's so
5
great
black
about
mana.
the way these cards work is because Past in Flames is casting the cards from your graveyard, gives you much greater liberty at cracking the Lion's Eye Diamond. And I believe Harlan just flashed back the Gitaxian Probe to see Harlan's hand.
Yep, we're going to probe again.
I was
Caleb's
just
going to go
doing it
down
again.
to 2.
Just free storm count at the cost of life. Caleb only needs to cast a few more spells.
He needs to cast 2 more and then the Tendrils.
Yep. One thing that is a little tricky is because he has the Tendrils in his hand, he can't crack his Lion's Eye Diamond and then flash back the Tendrils because those the cards in his hand, even if they hit the graveyard, will not have flashback. It's only the cards in your graveyard. When you cast Past in Flames, it's only the cards that are in your graveyard at that moment that gain flashback.
All right, so he's going to cast Infernal Tutor from his graveyard, use Lion's Eye Diamond to get black mana.
And he can tutor for wherever he wants. He could potentially get another Ritual or another Tendrils of Agony if he boarded the 3rd one in. And it looks like he does have the third Tendrils of
Looks like he
Agony.
boarded the third Tendrils.
Wow, and well done by Caleb Scherer.
Man, that was a lot of hate to play through, and Caleb took his time, picked his spots.
Yep.
Got a little fortunate drawing into the Abrupta case when he needed to, but he's going to move on to 11-3 with his Storm deck. Harlan has to feel like he did something wrong, or something just slipped away from him.
I don't think Harlan did anything wrong. I think what happened in that matchup is despite Harlan getting 2 counterbalances onto the battlefield, those counterbalances actually didn't generate any real value.